you mentioned that watching kind of the event kind of reminded you why you're not there. Obviously, it was big news that you and the HWPO team decided to forego the Rogue Invitational. Obviously, it's a big money event. It's a big exposure event. It's an opportunity to compete against some of the best in the sport. What went into that decision, and what were some of the discussions and factors that you guys ultimately worked around to make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, obviously coming off the games, like we were very proud of what we did and everything. And, when you're like that close, you have to kind of like dig deep and be like, okay, what else do we need? Because I feel like our training this past year, like I obviously improved so much and there's like still so much to go. So I feel like we kind of had to take a step back and look at the overall picture. And off-season comps like that could be kind of hard because you're like, well, if I have to train like I did for the games, is that gonna benefit me the next year, or is that gonna like kind of put us back from the progress we need to make? And that's kind of how we looked at it. Like, we don't really want any interruptions with what we're working on, so we just kind of wanted to like, hey, like we don't have anything to prove at Rogue if we went, so it's just kind of like, let's take a step back, look at what we need to work on it with no interruptions, so we're ready for like next year, And it was hard, like when Matt was like, I don't think we should do it. I was like, well, I know I'm gonna have FOMO and I want to do it and I want to compete, but then it's like, hopefully we see it pay off next year, So.
Yeah. That's a very mature decision in the end. And like you said, there's obviously a little bit of FOMO. There's the back and forth of balancing that with the perspective of your coach as well. Does that come easy for you guys? Is that something where you naturally default to that? Or is that something that you lean on for Matt to kind of see the bigger picture in that regard?
Yeah, Matt definitely looks at the bigger picture with a lot of things. Like, I mean, even like years down the road, it's like, what can we do today to help benefit years down the road type thing? And I'm not very good at that. So I'm glad he kind of helps that balance, because I'm like, I just want to do everything now. I'm so excited and all that stuff. But, he definitely pulls on the reins with almost everything. And it's just kind of like, I trust what he says. So if he says that is the best choice, then it is.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And to be fair, I'm 36 and I still can't get over the FOMO and to take those big picture perspectives. But so you mentioned, obviously, there's some things that you're working on now and trying to address as a result. What are those things? And what does that weakness process look like? Because I think we hear it all the time, like, hey, I'm going to work on my weaknesses. And we don't hear so much as to, A, how do you determine what those are? And B, the general approach from person to person and what attacking those weaknesses looks like.
Yeah. I don't like want to say like being like strength is a complete weakness of mine. Like, I feel like with like how my body is growing and all that and being so young, that I do well with that and I have improved on it a lot. But obviously, like if you're a full grown woman versus an 18-year-old who's still trying to gain her strength, like it has to kind of be more of a focus if we want like the longevity part of it. So that's like the biggest help, like why I'm working with Amy so much now. Like it's kind of a focus these next couple months before the season starts, to just like kind of make it like so I can be more confident with the weights. Like, I always like to talk about the yoke event at the games. Like, I was pretty like happy with that finish. I think I got 12th in it, and I was like, next year I want to see that 215 clean, and I want to like run up to it. I don't want to like have to loosen my belt, retighten it, regroup. I just want to like go for it, and I just didn't have that confidence this year. So I think like that was like a big eye opener. Like, okay, like it's gonna make a big difference if you can just be confident in those weights in an event like that, points wise.
And it certainly helps to have someone like Amy Everett on your team. Is there an added bonus to one, having a female coach get to work on those lifts with you and that progression with you, and also knowing that she's helped other like female lifters succeed at a high level?
Yeah. I enjoy having her around. We get along super well, and she can see things from a female point of view, especially like being so young. She can really help me like mentally, physically. She understands like how my body's going to work and what we need to do to like get the most benefit out of it. So it is super helpful.
For sure. And looking at the games as a whole, were there any other areas besides, you talked about relative strength and, trying to develop that. Were there anything else that you're like, hey, maybe I kind of want to work on this a little bit more, whether it's a strength or a weakness, but something that you just want to continue to develop?
Yeah, I wouldn't say any like specific movements. I think we're gonna keep working on everything we've worked on the past year, but I would say like style of events is something I noticed this year. Like, for example, like the high wall balls and the fast dumbbell snatch. I feel like we haven't really seen that before, and it's not like a taxing event. It's just like you have to be perfect, and I think doing things like that in training is gonna be super valuable too. And then just like, I mean, what else was there? Implementing new movements, like the pegboard, crossover, press handstand, like just little things like that, where you're like taking 10 to 20 minutes out of your day to just practice them, and they add up. For like this year was a great example of that. So, yeah.
And to be fair, the workout you just mentioned, the hat trick, you did finish second in. So even though you had working on those, you did pretty darn well at them.
Yeah, but I would say that was probably the event I was most nervous for. Like going out there, it's not like, it's not gonna hurt, but you're like, oh my God, if I literally don't hit this wall ball target, I'm gonna go from like first to 19th. So it's like, it's just crazy. But yeah, I think performing under pressure like that is a big advantage.